Hey, what's good, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson, BamaInsider.com. I'm coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, just a couple weeks before the 2019 football season officially kicks off. And I wanted to talk to you about 5 biggest concerns going into the 2019 season. These are my concerns after looking at the spring season and going into fall camp. Now, you can catch all that coverage back at BamaInsider.com. I'll go through these 5 biggest concerns kind of from number 5, then work my way all the way to the bottom with number 1. And I want to get your take. Please sound off in the comment box. What are your biggest concerns for Alabama football when you look at the roster, when you look at the depth chart, when you look at the schedule going into the 2019 season? You can hit me up on email, Kyle@BamaInsider.com. You can also follow me, Kyle. It's rivals_Kyle on Twitter. So if you're interested to follow my journey at BamaInsider.com, hit me up. You can, of course, follow all the coverage back at BamaInsider.com. For me, I think a good place to start off with is the kicking game. Now, is the kicking game going to be improved year over year? Now, as you know, Alabama added new kicker Will Reichard to the class of 2019, and it looks to be a guy who Saban is really excited about. Now, Saban spoke during the springtime that Reichard is a guy who can not only kick, but can serve as the team's punter. So I think Joseph Bolivas will probably still resume at kickoffs, and I think he did a great job leading the team in kickoff, but obviously kicking field goals and PATs was a big area where he really struggled. Now, Will Reichard, right out of Birmingham, looks to be that guy to improve Alabama's kicking game. And I also like, at the kicking game, from a punting perspective, Skylar DeLong. I think he's a guy now going into his sophomore season that should be much more experienced year over year. And I think we saw glimpses of what he could do during the spring game. Now, a lot of people weren't talking about him, but he had a booming punt of 54 yards. So I think punting game is going to be improved, and you're going to see Skylar DeLong really show some maturity. And I think Will Reichard looks to be that guy, but I think we need to see him in an actual game situation before we can really know that Alabama's kicking game will be improved year over year. And I think it's really important because when you look at the kicking game, it plays a vital role in the overall success of this program. Sure, Alabama is going to be the large favorite in every single game that they play this season, through the regular season at least. But the kicking game, if it's not buttoned up, if it's not perfected, that could be troublesome for Crimson Tide fans. So let's keep track of the kicking game as we move forward into fall camp. Now, the second area where I'm concerned about is the new offensive line play. Now, as you know, Alabama loses Jonah Williams. They lose Ross Piercebaker. So they have new holes to fulfill across the offensive line. They also have a new offensive line coach in Kyle Flood, who takes over for Brent Key. And let's look at the depth chart right now. So at left tackle, you have Alex Leatherwood. And Alex Leatherwood should be a guy, he has big shoes to fulfill, replacing Jonah Williams. But I think talent-wise, he's going to show a lot of improvement. And I think Nick Saban really likes what he has in Alex Leatherwood. I certainly believe that Alex Leatherwood could do a great job at that left tackle position, along with Scott Lashley, who's behind him. Now, he's a redshirt junior, and I think we need to see more from Scott Lashley to see if he's going to really be solidified as that second-tier left tackle, but at left tackle, it looks to be Alex Leatherwood. Now, at the left guard position, this is where I'm really interested in, because you have Deontay Brown, who Alabama really likes, especially leading their run game, but he's suspended for the first 4 games. So I think you're going to have a competition between Emil Ikior, who's now a redshirt freshman, going against Evan Neal, who's a true freshman. We've seen Evan Neal during the springtime, and he looks fantastic. 6'7", 360 pounds, but can he really be that guy that starts and edges out over Emil Ikior? Because Ikior is built for that guard position. So let's keep tabs on Emil Ikior and Evan Neal as we enter fall camp. We'll also track the progress of Deontay Brown. But when Deontay Brown gets back, you're going to have some very quality offensive linemen at that guard position. Now, the center position will be led by most likely Chris Owens. Chris Owens will replace Ross Piercebaker. Before that, you had Bradley Bozeman. Chris Owens looks to be a very capable offensive lineman taking over that center position, but behind him, there's some question marks. Hunter Brennan, Darian Dalcourt, none of those guys have a lot of experience. So the center position is a very important aspect of the offensive line, as you know. So let's keep tabs on Chris Owens, but from what we hear and from what Nick Saban has said during springtime, Chris Owens is ready to go and should be a great addition to the 2019 offensive line. Now, at right guard, you're going to have most likely Matt Womack, who's a redshirt senior, a lot of experience. Now, he's suffered a couple injuries, but I think overall, Matt Womack should be a guy who really has a breakthrough season, and I think he could be very dependable during the 2019 season. Just has to stay healthy, but I think in terms of his understanding of the offense and just his senior leadership, I think that's going to play a pivotal role for the offensive line this season. Now, at the right tackle position, you have Jedrick Wills. Could be an All-American type player. I think the bookends for Alabama, Alex Leatherwood, Jedrick Wills, 2 former 5-stars on Rivals.com. Behind him, you have guys like Tommy Brown and Amari Kite, 2 guys I'm really excited to see during the 2019 fall camp opening in August, because I think those guys, Tommy Brown and Amari Kite, I think they have really high ceilings. Look at the guys underneath Alabama's offensive line, guys that are younger. Tommy Brown, Amari Kite, Pierce Quick, Darian Dalcourt, Evan Neal, even Kendall Randolph. Guys that are younger that should really do exceptional things as they progress under Alabama. Now, my third biggest concern revolves around actually Alabama's front end schedule. Is it not challenging enough to get Alabama prepared for the later part of the season? Let's be honest, games against Duke, New Mexico State, South Carolina, Southern Miss, even Ole Miss, those games just don't resonate as big-time games when you're used to the schedules as past, right? Alabama opened up against games like Florida State, against USC, Wisconsin many years ago. A game against Duke, it's just, not only is it not exciting, I'm just kind of wondering if this schedule is going to prohibit this team from really getting ready for the back end of their schedule. Because if you look at the back end of the schedule, you have a game against LSU, which would be very difficult. LSU coming into Bryant-Denny, that's going to be a very difficult game for the Crimson Tide. And then Alabama goes to Stark Vegas to take on Mississippi State. That's always a difficult late season game. Then they got the warm-up game with Western Carolina right before they take on Auburn in Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium. So I'm kind of wondering if that front-end schedule is going to be almost too easy and not prepare this team enough for that very difficult back-end schedule. What do you think about Alabama's schedule? Please sound off in the comment box. Now, my fourth area of concern revolves around the inside linebacker play. Now, the good news is Pete Golding, who's the team's defensive coordinator, is also the inside linebacker coach. He's got a wealth of knowledge like you wouldn't believe. He understands the defense better than a lot of people in college football. So I don't think you're going to see Pete Golding really struggle to figure out who's going to be the guy at inside linebacker, but I'm kind of wondering who is going to be the guy at inside linebacker, because you have Dylan Moses, and I think he's a staple, and he'll be the Mike inside linebacker, the guy who calls the defense. He'll be replacing Mack Wilson this coming season. But at the will position, I'm kind of scratching my head, right? Is it going to be Joshua McMillan, who's a senior? Does he have enough talent to hold down that will position? Is it going to be a will position by committee? You also have guys like Shane Lee. We saw great things from him during the springtime. You're going to see maybe Ali Kahu, who will now be a sophomore. Christian Harris, who's a summer enrollee. Get this, at 6'2", 255 pounds, Christian Harris was returning kicks. He's playing wide receiver, playing defensive back at high school. So the transition for him to inside linebacker is going to be interesting to track. You also have Markel Benton, and then you have Jalen Mood. So Pete Golding has the guys there. I'm just wondering who's going to be that guy as we go into the 2019 season. And as you can see, there's plenty of talent, but I'm just curious to see who's going to rise up at that will position to play alongside Dylan Moses. Now, my biggest concern for the 2019 season is the health of Tua Tagovailoa. Now, just a couple weeks ago, Tua was supposed to throw at the Manning Passing Academy, but pulled out because of a hamstring issue. Now, it seems like Tua is prone to injury. Now, if we look back, there's been the knee, there's been the ankle, there's been, he had to get surgery on his knees right after the SEC championship game. There was many times during the season where he would get hit, he wouldn't get back up, and he's dealt with a lot of injuries. I'm curious to see what Nick Saban has to say next Wednesday regarding the health of Tua Tagovailoa and if he's prone to injury or if these are just some nagging injuries that he's faced just because he's getting, the playing time and he's getting banged up, and maybe he should have been getting the football out a little bit quicker. Maybe he should have been sliding. Maybe he could be distributing the football quicker to alleviate some of the pressure coming towards him. I want to see what Nick Saban has to say regarding the health of Tua Tagovailoa because it's going to play an instrumental role for the Crimson Tide going into this season. Now, when we look at the quarterbacks behind Tua, you don't have the luxury like you did last year with Jalen stepping in. Now, you might have a mixed review on Jalen Hurts, but point being, he was experienced enough to come in if Tua exited out and provide another quarterback who had exceptional experience and could lead the team down to victory. Point being that win over Georgia in the SEC championship game when Tua exited out. Now behind him, you have Mac Jones, who I think has made a lot of progress year over year. We saw him during the springtime have another great spring performance, and I think that he has the tools to lead this team, but we haven't really seen him in big game action. And then after him, you have Tua Tagovailoa, the younger brother of Tua, and then you have Paul Tyson. I don't think either of those freshmen is going to get a lot of playing time. Probably one of them is going to be redshirt. I would probably think it's going to be Paul Tyson. He seems a little bit behind Tua Tagovailoa in terms of his overall mechanics, but that's not a bad thing because I think when you look forward, Paul Tyson has the DNA makeup to be an NFL player, 6'5", 220. So I think once he grasps the offense a little bit better, once he develops a little bit more, Paul Tyson is going to be a guy that makes his mark here at Alabama. What do you guys think? What are your biggest concerns going into the 2019 season? Please sound off in the comment box. I'd like to hear from you, and I'd like to have an opportunity to earn your business at BamaInsider.com. If you're curious to get behind that paywall, all you got to do is simply go to the subscription sign-up page, click sign up, and the promo code for a free 30 days is simply Roll Tide. And if you're a college student, hey, we've all been there before. Email me at Kyle@BamaInsider.com. I got a special college promo code for you. I'm coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'll catch you guys soon at SEC Media Days. Until then, I'll talk soon, or you can catch me at BamaInsider.com.